I might just start by introducing myself for those that don't know me. My name is Natalie and I'm a lecturer in physiology in the School of Biological and Health Sciences, and we're currently located in Kevin Street. And the tool that I'm going to talk about here is one that I tried myself, but I'm also going to present some results from Helen, Noel and Louise, who also used it in their schools. And the tool is feedback before or in place of grade. First of all, we might just look at how you might use the tool. One approach with this is to use, or to just give feedback only. So feedback could be given on an assignment, a project, an essay, any type of assessment that you're engaging with your class. In the first approach, feedback would be given without a grade. Okay, now I have to say that none of us chose to do that. I personally myself was a bit nervous of that. I really didn't think that my group would like not getting a grade. Okay, so it just turned out that we didn't actually do that. For the second approach, what's used is that feedback is given on the body of work initially, and then at some stage later, it could be a few days later, a few weeks, or maybe at the end of the semester, the students are then given a percentage grade or a letter grade to go with the assignment. And that's what most of us actually ended up doing. Okay, so let's maybe go back and have a look at why we would use this method. Well, first of all, students feel that they don't have sufficient discussion with lecturing staff. Assessment feedback tends to be monologue rather than dialogue. Staff feel that students do not read or incorporate given feedback, and students are not developing their graduate attributes from the provided feedback. So they were some of the things that we hope to tackle with this module tool. Okay, so this was done across 4 schools as part of the LEAF project. And I think it's fair to say that the 4 schools are very different schools with very different groups of students. So first of all, it was trialled in my school. Myself and Mairead Stack, who was going to present later on about rubric, are part of the School of Biological and Health Sciences. And we trialled this with 2 groups of our students, a group of about 32 students in total. They were second years and they were level 8 students. Noel, in Mechanical and Design Engineering, trialled with Year 2 and Year 3 students, and they were Level 7 students. Helen O'Brien Gately trialled in Accounting and Finance, Level 6 students, and they were first years. And then Louise Bellew, who's going to present on TESTA later, trialled in Hospitality Management and Tourism, and her group were Year 1 students, they were Level 6, and some of those were part-time students. And everybody was looking at feedback in place of a grade. Okay, so what were the tools and how were they used? So I might start with our school first of all. So our group were a group of second year students, and this was our 4th module of physiology. So we knew the students quite well at this stage. The students were given a disease project that they had to work on, so they were given a disease topic, they had to complete a project, a group project, and submit a report on that particular disease. They were given very strict guidelines, telling them exactly what they needed to do, where the marks were going, and what was expected of them. So they were asked to submit a draft. The students were given feedback on that draft, and in our case, about a week later, they were given their final mark. But they were given time and opportunity to use their feedback to improve their final submission. So that's how we approached it in our schools. That was a group project. In Mechanical and Design Engineering, with Noel's group, the students were given direct feedback, 1-to-1, and this was given on the stage 1 submission of a final year project. In the case of Helen, in Accounting and Finance, she did some portfolio work, and this work lasted across the whole semester. And students were graded numerous times across the semester with Helen. At the end of the semester, the students submitted their corrected assessment. The student was given a grade that was based on the work that they produced, but also their engagement with the feedback. And then in the case of Louise in Hospitality Management and Tourism, her students were submitting a 1-page report. They were to get 1-to-1 written and verbal feedback. They were allowed to resubmit, taking their feedback into account. And that then went towards their final mark in that particular report. Okay, so what did the students think? Well, first of all, it's important to say that a lot of this was done in semester 2 this year, so we're still collecting some of the surveys. But we still have quite a lot that we can look at here today. In our school, with our dietetic students, The students felt that they preferred the direct feedback. They liked the direct feedback given on their work. They thought that it helped them to develop their skills. They also felt it applied to them as a student, and they thought this was better than getting general class feedback. So there was no real surprise there. I would have felt that with this group before, that they want individual feedback, not class feedback at all. In the case of mechanical and design engineering, Noel students felt that it helped them to know where the problem areas are, rather than just giving a grade on its own. It helped them to improve in subsequent submissions, and they also, like our group, liked the direct feedback as opposed to general class feedback. In the case of Helen's group in accounting and finance, the students were given an opportunity to submit a draft or to work on their portfolio, and any feedback that was given didn't cause them to be penalised. They didn't lose any marks, and that was popular with that group. They liked getting feedback without the risk of losing marks, and they also appreciated the opportunity of getting timely feedback. And in the case of Louise's group then in hospitality management and tourism, similar to Helen's group, they welcomed the opportunity to have a trial submission. So their first piece of work was marked or was looked at in terms of feedback, and if there were mistakes, there was no risk of losing marks. So they again liked that approach. They also found the individual feedback, the verbal and written, very helpful for their written report. Okay, so then what did the lecturers think? Okay, well, I have to say for our group, this was quite a small group. It was a group of 32. And as Leanne presented earlier, some of the time I would teach larger groups, maybe up to a group of 140. And I would teach with Lorraine Stack in my school. So this is one of our smaller groups. So I thought that this would worked very well for the small group. It also worked very well for group projects. I felt that it encouraged open discussion and engagement. And again, this was the fourth module that I would have had with this group, and it really helped the relationship that we had with the students. It helped to develop learning between the lecturer and the student, the relationship between us and them. I think it would be time consuming to do this for larger groups, but again, that's just my opinion. And unfortunately, some students didn't take the feedback on board, and I was very surprised at that. Very surprised that some of them didn't bother even to read the feedback. But then when I consulted with Noel last week, he found the same thing. Some of his students in their final year project didn't take the feedback on board. They didn't use the feedback to try to improve in subsequent submissions. So again, that was surprising. And I think I would agree with Noel here. He's suggesting that going forward, really we need to be able to show where the feedback was used. Because as a lecturer, a lot of effort goes into this. And it is disheartening at the end if some of your feedback isn't even read. Okay. If I go back to my group, I'm not really sure why that might be. I think maybe they were just busy with other things. It has been reported previously that students that don't take the feedback on board and don't use their feedback are either students that are poor time managers, or maybe are students that don't know what to do with feedback. Now, I wouldn't say that's the case with my group at all. Okay, so I'm not quite sure why some of mine didn't take the feedback on board. So there's food for thought maybe there for later. In the case of Helen's group with the portfolio work, she found it very practical. It was very helpful in terms of giving ongoing feedback. Marking the portfolios in her case was less time consuming than marking an in-class test. She found it good for the large group, and the focus was on learning rather than losing marks while learning. And then for Louise's group in hospitality management and tourism, she found the tool worked very well for the first year group. And some of the group were part-time students, and I think it's important to note that she felt it worked very well for those part-time students, and some of which were coming from industry, so that's a positive. So I suppose I'd sum up by saying overall that the student experience and the lecturer experience of feedback before or in place of grade was overall very positive. Okay, and I can take questions later if anybody has any questions to ask. Thanks very much.